I never thought I'd end up here, honestly. My wife, Lisa, and I had been together for about 8 years, married for 5 of those. We had our ups and downs, sure, but I always thought we were solid. She's the kind of woman who can be bitchy, sarcastic, and downright mean sometimes, but I figured that was just her way of joking around. Still, I trusted her, or I thought I did. The trouble started about 3 months ago. It was subtle at first. Lisa started working later, saying she had to meet with clients or go to networking events for her job as a marketing executive. I didn't think much of it. She's always been ambitious, and I figured the late nights were part of her climb. But then I noticed she was acting weird about her phone, hiding it more often, deleting texts. She'd get defensive if I asked about her whereabouts or why she was being so secretive. I'd catch her lying about little things and I pushed it aside, convincing myself she was just stressed or busy. But then, during a startup incubator session we both had signed up for, I started noticing strange signs. She was spending a lot of time with our mentor, Mark, a guy I'd trusted. Mark's a bit older, successful, charming. He was helping Lisa with her business pitch, but I saw the way she looked at him when she thought no one was watching. It wasn't just professional admiration anymore. There was something else in her eyes, something that made my stomach tight. One day, I decided to sneak into the pitch rehearsal space after hours. I'd had a late meeting myself, and I thought I'd surprise her. I parked around the corner, kept my phone on record, and slipped inside quietly. That's when I saw her. She was sitting on the table, her legs crossed, whispering something to Mark. They were so close I could see the way her hand rested on his knee, and she was leaning in way too comfortable. I stayed frozen for a second, stunned. My mind was racing. What the hell was going on? My wife was cheating on me with our mentor. I never imagined she'd do something so low, so blatantly. I watched as they shared a laugh, leaned into each other, and she even ran her fingers through his hair. I could hear snippets of their conversation, but it was enough. The betrayal hit me like a fist to the chest. I didn't want to make a scene there. I quietly backed out, my heart pounding, and I remember feeling this strange mix of anger, confusion, and heartbreak. How long had this been going on? Was it just that night? Or had there been other times? I replayed every moment I'd spent with her, questioning every word, every glance. The world suddenly felt unstable, like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. I knew then that everything I believed about her, about us, was a lie. I just didn't know how I was going to handle the fallout. After I pulled back from the door that night, I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, replaying everything I saw, trying to make sense of it. My chest felt tight, like I was suffocating from the betrayal. I kept telling myself it had to be some mistake, maybe a misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew what I saw. I saw her touch him like they were more than just working together. That was no coincidence. The next morning, I could barely function. I kept going over the footage in my head, trying to convince myself I was overreacting. But the truth was, I was shattered. I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't go on living like this, pretending everything was fine. I needed answers, raw, unfiltered answers. So I waited until she got home that evening, and I decided I'd finally ask her what the hell was going on. When she walked through the door, looking her usual bitchy self, I was already tense. "Where were you last night?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She gave me that look, sly, dismissive, like she was annoyed I was even asking. "Oh, I was at a networking event like I told you. Stop interrogating me, really. It's none of your business what I do after work." I couldn't hold back anymore. "I know you weren't at some networking event. I saw you with Mark. Don't lie to me, Lisa." Her face shifted into a mask of irritation and she crossed her arms. "You're crazy. You're always accusing me of stuff I didn't do. You're paranoid." "Paranoid?" I shot back. "I saw you touching him like you're fucking in love with him. Were you screwing him behind my back? How long has this been going on?" Her eyes narrowed. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous because I'm successful and he's helping me with my business. Maybe you should focus on your own damn life instead of spying on me." I felt a cold rage boil inside me. "Stop lying, Lisa. I have proof. I saw your hand on his knee and I heard how you were whispering to him. This isn't just some work thing, is it?" She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Fine, if you want to believe that, go ahead. But I'm telling you, there's nothing going on. You're blowing things out of proportion. You're just insecure because I'm doing better than you." That was the moment I realized that her lies had no end. She was good at spinning her web of bullshit, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I saw her true face, bitchy, manipulative, and willing to lie her way out of anything. I felt a mixture of fury and heartbreak. How could she betray me like this? All those years, all the trust I had in her, shattered in a second. I didn't know what to do next. I wanted to scream, to hit something to make her see how much she hurt me. But I also knew I couldn't just blow up and lose my mind. I needed a plan. Something calculated, something cold. Because if she was willing to cheat with my mentor, someone I trusted, then she deserved to pay. I just didn't know how yet. That night, I sat alone in the dark, staring at the footage again, trying to come up with a way to make her regret what she did. I knew I couldn't just leave it at a screaming match or a breakup. No, I wanted her to feel what I felt, utter betrayal and humiliation. I'd find a way to make her see the damage she'd done, and I'd do it in a way she'd never see coming. Over the next few days, I kept replaying the footage and her lies in my head, trying to think clearly. The rage was boiling, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized I had to get ahead of her, figure out exactly how deep this thing went, and what she was capable of. If she was cheating with Mark, who knows how many other lies she told or how many other people she manipulated. I couldn't let her keep spinning her web and destroying everything we had. I started digging into her phone, her emails, her calendar, you name it. I didn't want her to suspect what I was up to. I found a few messages between her and Mark that confirmed what I already knew. They'd been sneaking around for months. The texts were full of flirtatious nonsense, promises to meet, secret plans. I felt sick. That woman who I thought loved me was out there lying, cheating, and probably laughing at how stupid I'd been. But I didn't just want to confront her like some emotional wreck. I decided I'd set a trap. I wanted her to think she was still in control, that she could lie her way out of it. So I started planning my move carefully. I knew she'd try to deny everything, so I left a trail, an email account I created with a fake identity that I could use to bait her. I sent her a message pretending to be someone interested in learning more about her secret affair and asked her to meet at a specific place. I knew she'd take the bait. It was a gamble, but I had to do something. I wanted to catch her red-handed once and for all. I set everything up so I could record her reactions, and I waited. Sure enough, she took the bait. The night she was supposed to meet the other guy, I was hiding in the shadows, phone recording everything. The moment she arrived, I slipped out of my hiding spot and confronted her. "Lisa," I said loudly, startling her as she was about to enter the place. She spun around, eyes wide with guilt and fury when she saw me. "Thought you could get away with it, huh?" She instantly went on the defensive, trying to play innocent. "What are you doing here? This is none of your business." "Oh, I think it is," I cut her off. "You've been screwing around with Mark, haven't you? You've been lying to my face all this time." Her face twisted into that bitchy sneer she's notorious for. "This is a setup. You're crazy. You're just jealous because I'm better than you. This doesn't mean anything." "Yeah, right," I said, voice cold. "I have the recordings right here. You don't get to lie anymore. I know what you've been doing behind my back." She fumed, trying to deny it, but I knew I had her cornered. The look in her eyes was a mix of anger, shame, and defiance. She kept insisting it was all just sex, that it meant nothing, that she was only with Mark because she was tired of our marriage, bored, or some bullshit like that. But I didn't want to hear her excuses. I just wanted her to know I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. As I stood there watching her squirm, a strange mix of relief and disgust washed over me. I had finally uncovered the truth. It was ugly, but it was better than living in the dark. I knew then that I'd have to make some tough choices. But for now, I felt a tiny shred of victory. I'd caught her, and she couldn't lie her way out of this one. That night I left her standing there, furious and defeated. I felt empty inside. It was like my world had shattered into pieces, and I didn't know if I could ever put it back together. But one thing was clear: this betrayal was going to change everything. I had to decide whether I was going to fight for this marriage or finally admit that it was over. The pain was sharp, but I also knew I was done being naive. I'd be damned if she'd keep playing her games. After I confronted Lisa that night, everything changed. She was furious, screaming at me, calling me crazy for invading her privacy, for ruining everything. She kept insisting it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything, that I was overreacting because I was insecure. But I wasn't listening anymore. I knew the truth. I saw her lies, her manipulations, and I'd caught her red-handed. The betrayal cut deep, and I knew I'd never see her the same way again. In the days that followed, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. I'd go from anger to sadness, back to anger again. I'd look at her and see a stranger, someone I used to love and trust. The worst part was knowing she'd lied to me for months, probably longer, and had no remorse. It was like she'd been playing a game and I was just some fool who didn't see it. I decided I needed time to think. I couldn't make any rash decisions. The first thing I did was pack a bag and stay at a friend's place. I needed space from her, from the chaos, from the heartbreak. But inside, I was already planning my next move. I knew I couldn't just walk away without consequences. I had to make sure she understood what she'd lost, what she'd thrown away for some fleeting affair. While staying away, I started gathering everything I could. I printed out some of the messages between her and Mark, kept copies of the footage I recorded, and even looked into our joint bank accounts. I wanted to have proof of exactly how much she'd lied, how far her deception went. I figured if I was going to do something, anything, I had to do it with evidence, solid and irrefutable. One night I decided I'd give her a chance to come clean. I told her I wanted to talk, that I wasn't ready to throw everything away yet. She arrived at my friend's place, still bitchy, still trying to deny everything. I laid out all the evidence in front of her, screenshots, recordings, bank statements. Her face went pale as she realized I wasn't bluffing. She started crying, saying she was sorry, that she'd made a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen. But I wasn't buying her crocodile tears. I felt a strange mixture of disgust and pity. Disgust, because she'd lied and cheated for months, betrayed everything we had. Pity, because I realized how little she valued me, how she'd been so willing to throw away our marriage for some fleeting pleasure. Her crying didn't move me. It only confirmed what I already knew. She didn't care about saving what we had. She was just sorry she got caught. That night, I made the decision. I told her I couldn't do this anymore. I told her I was done pretending everything was okay. I needed to think about what I truly wanted. She begged, pleaded, promised to change, but I knew better. I knew that betrayal had broken something inside me that I wouldn't be able to fix easily. I told her I'd stay at my friend's place for a while, that I needed time to figure out my future. It was a brutal, painful choice, but I felt like I was finally taking control. I wasn't going to be a fool anymore. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me or lie her way out of what she'd done. I was done with the pretending, done with the lies, done with her. The trust was gone, and even if she begged and promised, the damage was already done. I just hoped I had enough strength to walk away for good, because I knew this was only the beginning of a long, messy road ahead. The days after that night were a blur of emotion. I stayed at my friend's place, trying to keep my head clear, but inside I felt like my world was crumbling. Every time I thought about Lisa, I felt this mix of anger, heartbreak, and a deep sense of betrayal I couldn't shake. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, so naive. For years, I thought we had something real. Turns out, I was just another fool she was stringing along while she chased some fleeting thrill with Mark. I spent hours going over everything: texts, recordings, bank statements, and each piece painted a clearer picture of her betrayal. It wasn't just a one-night stand. It was months of lies, manipulation, and betrayal. The thought of her lying to my face, pretending everything was fine, made me sick. I couldn't even look at her the same way anymore. But I also knew I couldn't keep living like this. I had to decide what I really wanted. Part of me wanted to confront her again, lay everything out, and demand she face the consequences of her actions. But another part knew that wasn't enough. I needed to do something that would make her regret what she'd done, something that would hit her where it hurts. One idea was to tell our friends and family the truth. Show everyone the evidence I'd collected and let her face the fallout. But I hesitated. I wasn't sure if I wanted to humiliate her publicly or if I was ready for that kind of fallout. Besides, I didn't want to be that guy, at least not yet. I needed some time to think, to figure out the best way to handle it. The turning point came when I found out. She'd been lying about her whereabouts even after I discovered everything. She kept telling me she was working late, meeting clients, doing her job, but I knew better now. She wasn't just cheating, she was sneaking around even more. That was the moment I realized I had to cut her out completely. I called her and told her I wanted to meet. She was resistant, tried to guilt-trip me with tears and fake apologies, but I wasn't having it. I told her I knew everything, that I was done, and I wanted her to leave my house for good. That was the first time I demanded she leave instead of me running after her or trying to fix what was broken. When she finally packed her stuff and left, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. It was like I'd been carrying this weight for so long, and now that it was gone, I didn't know how to breathe. I had lost the woman I loved, the trust I once had, and part of myself along the way. But I also knew I was finally free. In the aftermath, I started working on myself. I needed to rebuild, to heal. I realized how much I'd given her, my time, my trust, my love, and how much she'd thrown away. It stung, but I knew I'd be stronger for it. I learned that sometimes the biggest betrayal comes from those you trust the most, and it's up to you to decide whether you stay broken or pick yourself up and move on. Looking back, I wish I could say I learned a solid lesson, but honestly, I'm still figuring out how to trust again. All I know is that I won't let someone betray me like that again. I'll be more careful, more cautious. Because in the end, the pain of betrayal is a hard lesson, but it's also a wake-up call to value yourself, to know your worth, and to never let anyone lie to you again. It's been a few months now since Lisa walked out that door, and honestly, I still feel the echoes of it every day. Some mornings are harder than others, waking up alone, realizing I no longer have the woman I thought I knew. But I've also started to find a sense of clarity I didn't have before. The betrayal cut so deep that I had no choice but to reevaluate everything about myself, about trust, about what I want from life. I've learned that love can be fragile, easily shattered by lies and deception. No matter how much you want things to work, sometimes you're better off walking away than trying to fix a broken foundation. That realization was bitter, but ultimately freeing. I no longer waste my energy on someone who doesn't respect me enough to be honest. Instead, I focus on rebuilding my life, better, stronger, more aware of my worth. Looking back, I realize I was naive. I kept making excuses for her, thinking maybe she was stressed, tired, or just going through a rough patch. But deep down, I knew she was playing me the whole time. I let her get away with so much because I didn't want to face the truth. Now I see it clearly, her lies, her manipulations, her selfishness. That's on me for not seeing it sooner, but it's also a lesson. Never ignore the signs. Never turn a blind eye to what your gut is telling you. I also learned that revenge isn't about making her suffer, at least, not entirely. It's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your peace of mind. The truth came out and I made her face the consequences. That was the only way to move forward. I don't need her approval or her lies anymore. I've taken control of my story and I'm proud of that. In the end, I'm grateful for the wake-up call, even if it came in the ugliest form. I've learned that betrayal is a brutal teacher, but it's also a catalyst for growth. I've started focusing on myself again, my career, my hobbies, my friends. I've realized that I don't need a woman who would cheat and lie to feel complete. What I need is someone who respects me, who values honesty and integrity. That's what I deserve. So to anyone out there who's been betrayed, know that it hurts, but it doesn't have to break you. You can heal, you can learn, and you can move on. It's a long road, and some days will be tougher than others, but in the end, your worth isn't defined by someone else's betrayal. It's built by your resilience, your strength, and your refusal to accept anything less than the honesty you deserve. Keep moving forward. That's the real victory.